Let's begin with a question so uncomfortable, so confrontational, that your instinct will be to look away. Are you prepared? Here it is. What if you are not the victim of your circumstances, but rather the silent, willing architect of your own prison?
We speak endlessly of growth, of breaking free, of becoming our highest selves. We consume the content, we underline the quotes, we whisper the affirmations into the mirror. Yet something remains inert, a weight that no amount of positive thinking can lift, a barrier that no simple tactic can dismantle. You feel it, don't you? That subtle, almost gravitational pull back to the familiar shores of your limitations. It's not laziness. It is something far more profound and far more ancient. We are going to venture into the depths where few are willing to look, beyond the surface level advice, into the subterranean caverns of the self. This is not about time management or discipline hacks. This is about the existential and psychological barricades you have constructed, brick by invisible brick, throughout your life. Barricades you may even cherish. Barricades that feel, in their own twisted way, like safety, like home. The first, and perhaps most insidious barrier, is not out there in the world. It is a story. A narrative you have been telling yourself for so long. Its words have become the very structure of your reality. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear for the world. But deeper than that lies what he termed the shadow, the repository of everything we have denied, repressed, and deemed unacceptable about ourselves. Your growth is not hindered by a lack of light, but by your refusal to turn and face the shadow that stretches behind you. Every trait you despise in others, every judgment you cast with swift certainty, is a clue, a fragment of your own disowned self, projected onto the screen of the world. Think of it, your irritation at another's arrogance, your disdain for perceived weakness, your visceral reaction to certain forms of passion or vulnerability. What if these are not merely observations, but desperate telegrams from your own inner exile? By refusing to acknowledge these exile parts, you grant them immense, covert power. They become the unseen governors of your behavior, the puppeteers of your reactions, the authors of your self-sabotage. You believe you are moving toward a goal, but you are forever dragging behind you a hidden chain of unintegrated selves. How can you build a new future when you have outlawed the raw materials of your own being? This is the first great unseen barrier. The story that you are only the good, the acceptable, the socially sanctioned fragments of your experience. It is a story of amputation. And you cannot grow from a place of fragmentation. You can only manage. You can only cope. True growth demands a terrifying wholeness. It begins not with addition, but with reclamation. So I ask you, with all the gravity this question holds, what have you exiled within yourself? And what price is your conscious, acceptable self paying to keep that prisoner locked away in the dark? To accept the shadow is not an act of celebration, but of sober, unflinching reconnaissance. It is the first step out of a dream. But the moment you take it, you will confront the second, and perhaps more formidable, barrier, a hidden, almost emotional love for your own suffering. Do not recoil. Sit with this accusation. We must venture into the territory of Friedrich Nietzsche, who peered into the abyss of the human soul and saw not just monsters, but a perverse artistry. He spoke of resentment, a simmering poisonous resentment that undergoes a miraculous alchemy. It transfigures weakness into a virtue, powerlessness into a moral triumph, and one's own limitations into evidence of a superior spiritual purity. This is not mere self-pity. It is a sophisticated, unconscious philosophical system you have built to justify your own stagnation. Ask yourself, with brutal honesty, is there a part of you that is comfortable in your dissatisfaction? Does your story of struggle provide you with a unique identity, a sense of being misunderstood? a noble reason for why your potential remains untapped. This is the silent addiction to the why of your failure. The intricate explanation, my childhood, the system, my unique sensitivities, the wrongs done to me, becomes a sacred text. To let go of it feels like a betrayal of your own history, like erasing yourself. It is easier to be the tragic hero of your own unfulfilled life than to risk the terrifying ambiguity of freedom. This barrier manifests as a quiet, spiritualized resentment. It is the voice that says, "The world is too shallow for my depth," while refusing to articulate that depth in action. It whispers, "True power is corrupt," as you watch others build and create. It claims, "I see through the game," while you remain safely on the sidelines, your purity intact, your potential forever theoretical. This is the prison of the superior soul. It is a gilded cage where the bars are made of your own unassailable judgments. You have fallen in love with the clarity of your diagnosis and lost the will to seek a cure. What are you protecting by holding on to this story of your own exquisite impediment? What would you have to surrender? What cherished grievance? What foundational wound if you were to truly step forward? The terrifying truth is that your defined suffering can become a more familiar home than an undefined possibility. Your pain can become your compass, your identity, your reason for being. To give it up is to experience a kind of death. The death of the self you have known. This is the paradox. We cling to the chains not because we don't want freedom, but because we cannot conceive of who we would be without them. Now we descend to a deeper, more impersonal stratum. Beyond the story and beyond the secret love of suffering, we encounter a barrier that is not psychological, but ontological. A fundamental misunderstanding of what you are and what the universe is. Here, we must invoke Baruch Spinoza, the philosopher who dissolved the illusion of the separate self with geometric rigor. For Spinoza, there is only one substance, God or nature, and we are not independent beings pushing against an external world. We are finite modes, transient expressions of this single infinite reality. Your feeling of being a lonely, isolated consciousness trapped inside a skull, battling an alien universe, this, Spinoza would say, is the primal error. The fundamental barrier to all growth is this illusion of separation. Think of it. You believe you are here, and your growth is out there. You are the arrow, and the target is some distant future version of yourself. This very model of reality is the engine of your anxiety and your stagnation. Because in this model, every effort is a struggle against the current of the whole. Every desire is a petition to a universe you perceive as indifferent or hostile. You exhaust yourself trying to force growth upon a life you see as separate from you. But what if you are not the swimmer fighting the river? What if you are the river itself? Your thoughts, your fears, your sudden bursts of inspiration, the obstacles that arise, these are not invasions from an external world. They are currents and eddies within the single, flowing totality of what is. The barrier is your insistence on identifying only with one small, fragile whirlpool in this vast flow and calling it me. This identification is the source of all resistance. When you say, "I cannot grow," what you are truly saying is, "This particular pattern I call myself must remain intact, must defend its borders against the transformative forces of nature itself." This is a spiritual crisis disguised as a personal one. Your growth is not a project to be completed by the isolated self. It is the universe's intelligence seeking to express itself through you in a new way. The blockage occurs when the whirlpool believes it must dictate the course of the entire river. Surrender, in Spinoza's sense, is not passivity. It is the profound recognition of your true agency, which is not about willful dominance, but about harmonious alignment. The question then shifts from, how can I get what I want, to what wants to move through me? What pattern of the whole is seeking its expression here? Can you feel the difference? One is a clenching, the other is an allowing. Which posture do you inhabit most of your days? Yet, even with this understanding, a cold, bureaucratic dread can still freeze you in place. We have come to the barrier that Franz Kafka knew better than any soul who ever lived. It is the invisible, absurd, and labyrinthine prison of internalized authority. You do not need a literal castle or a grinding tribunal. You have constructed one inside your own mind. It is the voice of the they, the amorphous, omnipresent sense of what is expected, what is normal, what is permissible. It is the law you feel you have broken before you have even acted. Kafka's characters are not crushed by clear villains, but by a system so nebulous, so bound by unseen rules and opaque procedures, that they are paralyzed by the sheer impossibility of navigating it. Is this not the architecture of your own hesitation? You wish to create, but an inner clerk demands the proper, non-existent forms. You wish to change, but an internal judge warns of appeals to higher courts of failure and ridicule. You stand before the door of your own potential, a door the law says is meant for you, but you cannot enter because you are waiting for a permission that will never come from an authority whose face you have never seen. This is the barrier of modern spiritual absurdity. Your jailer is not a person, but a concept. Your crime is the mere thought of deviation. This internal bureaucracy thrives on procedural anxiety. It doesn't say no outright. It says, first, you must be perfectly healed. First, you must have all the knowledge. First, you must ensure no one will be disappointed. First, you must have a foolproof plan that guarantees no suffering. It turns the path into an infinite hallway of administrative prerequisites. This is why so many feel perpetually almost ready, and yet eternally unprepared. You are in perpetual negotiation with a phantom committee. Kafka's nightmare reveals a horrifying truth. The most perfect prison is one where the prisoner becomes the chief architect and diligent guard of his own cell. You are both the petitioner begging for a chance and the official who eternally delays the request. To grow, you must stage a revolt not against society, but against this internalized regime. You must dare to be illegible to the bureaucratic system of your own mind. You must act without the stamped approval. What is the unnamed law you are most afraid of breaking? And who, truly, appointed its guardians within you? So we arrive at the precipice. We have named the barriers, the disowned shadow, the love of sacred suffering, the illusion of separation, and the internal bureaucracy. Knowing them is not enough. Intellectual recognition is just another form of standing still. The final and only question that matters now is one of metabolism. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you consume it as another piece of interesting information? Another tragic story about the human condition that leaves you ironically detached? Or will you allow it to metabolize within you, to break down the very tissues of your being, and become the energy for a new kind of motion? This is the choice between philosophy as a decoration and philosophy as a fire. Nietzsche demanded, "Become what you are." But this is not a passive unfolding. It is a violent, creative act. It requires you to take the raw, chaotic materials of your existence, your shadow, your resentment, your sense of isolation, your fear, and not just accept them, but wield them. To use your suffering as the clay, not the coffin. To see the bureaucratic nonsense of your mind as absurd theater, not absolute law. To feel your separation as a poignant illusion, and then to act as if you are intimately, fundamentally connected to the core of all things. There is no safe path across this abyss. There is only the leap. The decision to act from a place you do not yet fully understand, to trust a current you cannot control. Your growth will not be a clean, linear progression. It will be a series of fractures and reorganizations. A continuous shedding of skins you once believed were your skeleton. Do not wait for a feeling of readiness. That feeling is the final trick of the internal bureaucracy. Readiness is a myth fabricated by fear. You begin in the not knowing. You act in the uncertainty. You create the path with the brutal, clumsy, glorious fact of your movement. So I leave you with this, not as an answer, but as a detonator. A single sentence to carry into the silence after this video ends. It is a sentence that contains no comfort, only a stark and terrifying imperative. Say it to yourself. Feel its terrible weight and its absolute necessity. The prison door is not locked. It never was. You are just so deeply in love with the architecture of your own cell that leaving feels like an act of annihilation. Now, the screen will go dark, the voice will fall silent, and you will be left in a room with only one question, which is also the only task that has ever mattered. What, at this very moment, will you stop pretending not to know?